Punk Revolution now! Today we're going to be doing a new segment I've never done before. I'm very excited about this. Cool story, bro. It's not that's not the name of the segment. I just wanted to show my shirt. The segment, I'm going to call it Debating Music with Trolls. And basically, I posted on Twitter what I say. I said, oh my goodness. Let's argue. Welcome your hot takes, unpopular opinions, and tough questions. The best ones will be responded to in a future vid on the Punk Revolution Now channel. Let's go. That was my post completely. I did it all myself, and we got like over 90 responses. I thought I was gonna get like 7. So thank you so much for everyone who responded and participating, and we got lots of crazy responses. I've only briefly scrolled through them. But, yeah, I'm gonna be just scrolling through on my laptop right now and just kind of reading through and responding. And let's just get started, okay? Alrighty, so let's see here. First one we're seeing is by SLKS, aka Sam, saying, because the internet is better than Good Kid, Mad City, and Twisted Fantasy. So my first reaction is, I don't even think I've ever listened to Because the Internet, but I just already know this is not true. And by the way, I don't care. I know you're not supposed to have opinions on albums without listening to it. I don't care. It's not as good as those two. Alright, moving on. Punk Revolution Now is cooler and better taste than Fantano. Okay, that's true. I'm not reading the rest of that tweet. Let's see here. Okay, alright, so this is a pretty interesting one. This one got 6 likes and 4 responses, so I'm just gonna go ahead and read. This is from Demigloom saying, despite being an undeniably problematic figure, Negative XP has a completely solid discography, and your criticism of his music is completely unfair. Tracks like Sink Into the Ground and Die Alone in particular are completely solid punk songs. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and just listen to these 2 songs now with a very open mind, pretending it's not Negative XP, and I will come back to you and let you know what I think. Yeah, so I just listened to those songs, and that was just, I really don't understand. How, like, that is just the definition of mediocre. Like, I go to a lot of just random punk shows throughout New York, just random shows wherever. I mean, with COVID-19, I can't go to as many, but whenever I go to a show, there's gonna be some random punk band opening or whatever, and they're gonna play music that's more compelling than that, because while there's like absolutely nothing like outrageously bad about it, yes, the production is very mediocre, actually pretty bad production, yes, his vocals are pretty pitchy, yes, he uses so many freaking generic elements in his music, ooh, like just all that wooing in the background, it's just like, oh my god, he's gonna do that in every song. The end result is just his music is just so intensely unremarkable. It's a bunch of generic elements of indie rock, indie garage rock, garage punk, whatever you want to call it. The most generic elements of that executed very poorly. It's just like, what on, like, it's making me think, like, why am I trying to make, like, complex post-hardcore, post-rock kind of music when I could be literally just pumping out music that sounds like that, and apparently it's decent enough to grow a fan base? Like, it's literally just, it's astounding. So I'm gonna have to disagree with you, even with my most open mind. I just think his music is just so unremarkable. And then we see another hot take here saying, I know he's problematic, but isn't the whole point of punk to be as problematic as possible despite a world you're unhappy with? No. Here's a pretty good one. Future streaming service algorithms will have the potential to identify perfect recommendations and spotlight completely unknown artists, but that power might just as easily be used to homogenize taste. I think there's a reason for optimism, though. That is a really good take. AI, if you've been following the conversations that the whole world is kind of having obsessively about AI and the future of technology and computer science, it does seem like there's a lot of potential there with AI already starting to do a lot of really complex stuff, and I think music taste is a great example of where AI can just get absolutely mind-blowing. We're already seeing with Spotify algorithms and Apple Music algorithms and stuff, they're able to give you really solid recommendations, like music that like you're actually gonna really like a lot, and we're just seeing AI get started, so I think there's a very good possibility of it just kind of blowing your mind with the incredible future AI-generated playlists. I don't listen to playlists, but maybe at some point I will, because they'll be just too good for me to ignore. I do really like your point, though, about, you know, if there's some centralized power, like one streaming service, Spotify or whatever, that just completely dominates the whole market, it would be very easy for them to just really subtly slip in, just trying to push people towards certain artists more than others, because that artist has a relationship with a record label who has a relationship relationship with Spotify, and it's just kind of subtly, you know, extracting your value from the market however they can, and it's actually going to distort music taste to be more poppy and crappy. Who knows? Maybe that's already happening to an extent. I think that's a very valid point, and we should definitely be ready to, you know, do whatever we can to not let that happen. Hopefully we can have a free, my ideal idea is a free, decentralized streaming platform where all the music is available for free. You can upload your music for free. Everything is for free, and the whole platform is ran by donations, by people who just are, you know, computer science whizzes with just who loves music and just wants the world to have as much access to music as possible. And they would have zero incentive to slip the corruption into the algorithm. So I think a more socialist, communist, free, everybody's free, everything's free kind of model ran by donations is ideal for streaming services. So fingers crossed we see something like that happen. This one got a lot of likes, probably the most amount of likes that I've seen any of these takes get. Most comedy albums are not funny. This is pretty interesting. So when you say comedy album, are you referring to albums of like stand-up comedians who are giving their sets and then they record it into a CD? Because I actually do kind of like listening to those. I don't listen to them too often, but I do appreciate comedy as an art. Or are you referring to like satirical like rock music and pop music and Weird Al and all those artists that do music, like try to incorporate comedy into their music? Because I will say I really do not like when artists try to incorporate comedy into their music that much. I think Ween is like the only artist I think can get away with it just because they are literally that funny and that musically talented that they just kind of knock it out of the park. But I'm not really a big fan of, you know, I mean, as a, you know, if you're a kid, I mean, when I was a kid, I loved Tenacious D. I always had so much fun listening to the Weird Al strange versions of all my favorite pop songs and stuff. So, I mean, I say like, you know, are they not funny? I mean, if you're a grown adult, if you're, you know, 18 plus, then yeah, they're not like gonna be that funny. But I will say Ween is actually funny, first off. And two, I think for kids, which I think is who it's really for, honestly, I mean, I had a lot of fun listening to that stuff. It really is, someone who loved comedy and music as a little kid, I really enjoyed, I still love Tenacious D, honestly. This is probably the worst take we've seen so far. Cliff-era Metallica songs can all be shortened to 4 minutes and would all be better if we did so. So the Cliff-era Metallica albums are the first 3 albums. That was the bassist who sadly passed away. These 3 Cliff-era Metallica albums are, in my opinion, just straight up freaking masterpieces. I was always kind of skeptical of Metallica because they're like a really famous classic rock band with like some radio rock hits, so I always thought of them as pretty, kind of a poppy metal band. But then when I sat down and listened to their first 3 albums very critically and paid attention, I was actually blown away by the absolute epicness of it. These songs are freaking epic. Like, if you shorten these songs to 4 minutes, you're taking away from the epicness, which is exactly the stuff within the albums that actually freaking sounds amazing. So to me, this is like, why are you taking something that's already so freaking amazing and then trying to take away like one of the key elements that makes it so amazing? I just strongly disagree with this take. Lil Nas X would not have a career if the hamster dance was not there to prepare the mainstream for the country crossover sound he would use on his breakout single Old Town Road. I'm gonna have to disagree with this one because it kind of raises the question. If it took the hamster dance song to get the mainstream prepared for Old Town Road, then what was it that got the mainstream prepared for hamster dance? Like, I don't really think you need to have something to like prepare stuff for people. I think mainstream pop had already incorporated so much weird, dumb bullshit, like the What Does the Fox Say song and stuff, that they were definitely able to handle a country pop kind of weird rodeo rap song like the one Lil Nas X did, especially just because that song is so catchy that no matter what kind of aesthetics that song has, it was probably destined to blow up anyways just because of how freaking catchy it was. My Chemical Romance was better at executing concept albums than Pink Floyd, and no, I will not change my mind. So thinking about the Pink Floyd concept albums, I know there's The Wall, which is like kind of a political kind of concept. I don't even really fully grasp it, just some vague "we live in a society" lyrics. And then I think Wish You Were Here is like a concept about like Pink Floyd, Syd Barrett. It's kind of hard for me to say I really connect with Pink Floyd lyrics all that much. They never really did much to me, and along with that, the concepts, you know, I'm sure they've got some deeper meanings and stuff. I just never really cared too much about the concepts or the lyrics. But the My Chemical Romance Black Parade album is one of my all-time favorites. I grew up listening to that album, and I love the lyrics, and I love the concept of that album, so I definitely agree with that. Ambient music is some of the hardest music to properly produce in a memorable way due to, though, balance between foreground and background music. That precision is key. I definitely agree with that. Like, I think if you asked me to make a standout, amazing genre defining album in punk or metal or rock or indie rock, or pop even, any genre, psychedelic rock, I would have a much better chance of making an album that blows everyone's mind than if someone said, I challenge you to make an ambient album that's gonna revolutionize the whole genre, because holy crap. That is like, I mean, I love a really solid ambient album. I think ambient is really cool. For me to sit down and like just try my best to make an amazing texture that gradually evolves over 10-15 minutes in a way that's gonna make people wanna like listen to it and then revisit it and then share it with their friends, that sounds like Mission Impossible. That sounds incredibly difficult. So I do have a lot of respect for talented ambient musicians, and I have thought about making an ambient album before, but I think there's a very low chance that really works out so well because it's so sick. I don't even know how to go about doing that. Sales equals quality. If the music was bad, then people wouldn't listen to it, therefore it wouldn't sell much. There's a lot of implications in this tweet I disagree with, and I know you're not saying this ironically, but I will say you really should think before you just tweet to any old punk that sales equals quality. What do you think who do you think makes a better hamburger? McDonald's, who is outselling pretty much every hamburger maker in the entire freaking universe? Or maybe I don't know, like your girlfriend or your mom or something made a hamburger with the highest quality beef possible, with the highest quality buns possible, with fresh vegetables right out of the garden, and made with lots of love and care. What do you think is gonna end up being the better hamburger? And guess what? Your mom is not selling nearly as many hamburgers as McDonald's, but we all know your mom is really good at making hamburgers. So obviously, quality and sales, I think the correlation is extremely weak, if not completely inverted. People that don't like Fireman are virgin meat eaters. That's true. This one is really interesting by second last. In the Meantime is the worst Helmet album out of the original 4. Now, I've listened a lot to the first 2 Helmet albums, and In the Meantime is like one of my favorite 90s albums ever. I love that album, but I honestly have not given enough attention to the 4 other original Helmet albums, and now that you've said this, I want to listen to those more closely with a more open mind. I trust your opinion. If you say they're just as good, if not better, then there's probably some truth to it. Anthony Fantano is a cool dude, not gonna lie. We can talk a lot about Anthony Fantano on this channel, but regardless of if you feel he's a good person, good taste, bad taste, I don't think he's I don't think he's cool. Let's just agree to disagree. Music gives me a burning sensation when I pee. Yeah, that's called having good music taste. I'm 63 years of living and I've been told white boys can't dance. It deeply saddened me as someone who only wanted to break dance. I was discouraged, but I absolutely enjoyed that white boys can in fact dance. This cop right here proves that white boys can dance, and then there's this gif here. Yeah, I don't know about that. He kind of looks Latino to me. So I don't know. I would kind of maybe reconsider. Is he fully white? Because I don't think it's possible for white people to dance like that. So I'm sorry to break it to you, but I would reconsider. Shoegaze sucks. I've been seeing a lot of shoegaze hate lately on Twitter. I don't really fully get it, especially with My Bloody Valentine. Like, I don't understand how anyone can think that sucks. And if you think it sucks, then you just need to re-listen and just kind of focus more, because it's just an awesome listen. And I think you need to think a little bit more about the influence that shoegaze has had on indie music, and just kind of appreciate it as a really cool experimental rock movement that came out of the 90s. And you know, maybe you don't like it, maybe it's not your vibe. I don't listen to shoegaze that often, but I definitely don't think it sucks. I think it's some of the coolest music to ever exist, honestly. Staggy the Band Pilgrim is the greatest band of all time. Okay, as someone who literally owns Staggy the Band Pilgrim merch, I can promise you that they are absolutely not even in the. They're actually not even in the top 1,000. They're not even in the top 10,000 best bands of all time. I don't even think I've listened to 10,000 bands, but I can assure you they would not make the top 10,000. They would probably make the bottom 100 worst bands of all time. Stereolab are the best band of the 90s. They have a really solid discography throughout the 90s, and they have released a lot of really amazing music, so I think that's definitely a contender, although I do prefer Unwound and a number of other 90s bands. I definitely respect this opinion a lot. Jay-Z First Blueprint sucks. I don't know. I actually do enjoy that album. It's not for everybody. It's very I feel like that's such an influential genre that there's just been so much rap that's kind of played with those sounds. It kind of sounds a little generic at this point, but I don't know. I think it's. I mean, I'm someone who just likes rap, so if there's a really solidly executed rap album, which the Blueprint absolutely is, then I'm going to enjoy it. So I don't think it sucks. Limp Bizkit is clear of Radiohead. This isn't even like Let Epic Bait. Limp Bizkit is genuinely more fun and enjoyable. Genuinely more fun, I would say so. But I think Radiohead's discography is just so much more consistent and just a much larger choice of a variety of sounds compared to Korn, or I mean Limp Bizkit, that this is like, this is a no for me. But if I want some quick, easy fun with friends, obviously I'm going to put Limp Bizkit on instead of Radiohead. Nu metal doesn't deserve the hate it gets with most music snobs like Fanny. I will say that nu metal is a really, really interesting genre. The way it presents itself is always so kind of cheesy and silly that I think a lot of people who are serious music listeners kind of just brush over it. But as a musician myself, I think nu metal has some of the most just raw talent in any genre of music that's gotten really popular. Like a lot of the bass lines and rhythms are quite complex, and I do also think there's an element of classism in a lot of the hatred that metal gets, because metal is definitely associated with working class white people. Especially nu metal too. Just, I think people would say people who like nu metal are white trash, and that's just definitely not fair, because the music is a lot of fun. So you need to kind of get that stuff out of your brain and just enjoy the goddamn music. Anthony Fantano hates women and also ethnic minorities and sexual minorities. Punk Revolution now. I did not know this. Thank you so much for bringing this to my attention. I will go ahead and block him on Twitter now and block everybody who I follow who happens to follow him, because you should not be following someone who does this. The Beatles, in fact, are actually underrated. They're not. I mean, I like the Beatles, and maybe amongst the current Gen Z generation, they're underrated. But I honestly think they are not, in the grand scheme of things, underrated whatsoever, just because they are highly, highly critically acclaimed. Every single music history book has like a freaking chapter dedicated to them. They get a lot of love and attention, so I disagree. Here we go again with some of the shoegaze stuff. My Bloody Valentine is some of the weakest shoegaze. Absolutely not. I see this on Twitter so much. Okay, so Loveless is absolutely amazing. Isn't Anything is like the most punk shoegaze album. Like, it's so dissonant and so like edgy and like groovy and sexy. It's like they got like this angsty shoegaze that no other shoegaze bands really comes close to with Isn't Anything. And then Loveless, of course, is just like it's just like an orgasm on the ears. It sounds great, and they've got also You Made Me Realize and a bunch of other cool EPs. Like, their discography is freaking dope. I really like their newest album. Like, no. My Bloody Valentine are fucking amazing, and I think they're the best shoegaze band. And I'm tired of these goddamn contrarians who are saying this. And yes, there's plenty of other amazing shoegaze bands that are probably just as good, if not better, in your opinion. But I think My Bloody Valentine is the best. But let's not diss My Bloody Valentine for the sake of being contrarian. They're freaking amazing, and saying stuff like this just makes you lose credibility. The Residents are better than Swans. I don't know. The Residents have such a massive discography that I haven't really explored that much of. I do think Not Available is an absolutely incredible album that might be better than anything that Swans have released, but I just enjoy listening to Swans more as a whole. I feel like sometimes if I pick a random Residents album out of their discography, I'm not going to be so thrilled by it, but Swans, I think I can just go with any of their albums and I'm going to love it. And then the reply here saying, Swans boring, so, and then an emoji. I will say, as a huge Swans fan, I absolutely agree. Swans are absolutely incredibly boring. You are correct about that, but I still love them anyways. Vegan food is beautiful and delicious, peak culinary. Yes, that is absolutely true. Here's a hot take. Under reflection, Drake won the beef versus Pusha T. All Pusha T managed to do was embarrass himself, and as people look back on it, they see what he did as just immature. Plus, Duppy Freestyle was a better song. All Story of Adidon had was shock factor. I'm sorry to break it to you, dude. Anyone who followed that whole saga looks back at it, and all they remember is Pusha T humiliating Drake. They don't remember any of the details. That is just, it, for all intents and purposes of what a diss battle is supposed to be, which is humiliating your opponent, even by going to extreme lengths and releasing personal and private information about them and saying some really low blow stuff. That is like the fun of diss tracks. No, Pusha T won. I'm sorry, you can't rewrite this history. Joy Division was a singles band. Their hits hit hard, but their albums were otherwise boring. Joy Division is a bit boring when you listen to their full albums, but I disagree that they're a hit band because I feel like you take any of their songs and listening to it, it's just pretty incredible stuff, and I don't think their hits are necessarily way better than their deeper cuts. I just think they're a band that honestly is sometimes better enjoyed to listen to a few songs at once instead of like an hour-long sit listening through all their albums, all their songs at once. Underground Volume 1 is the best 90s hip-hop album. That is an interesting one. I do think that ultimately there are other 90s albums that do beat it in terms of like being more cohesive and artistic and thought-provoking, but Underground Volume 1 might be like the best hip-hop album ever when it comes to just putting music on to create a really chill vibe. And the influence that album has had has also been pretty incredible, and I love that album, so I really respect this opinion. Anthony Fantano is more attractive than Punk Revolution now, and then someone replied miss. I'm not going to comment on this, but I will say the miss did have 4 likes, and the original tweet had only 1 like, and there was also someone else who replied L, and I'm actually going to go ahead and like that tweet right now, so we're good. 3 Cheers is the only good MCR album, and then someone says Dangerous Days is better, and then there was another replying saying Ratio, and then someone said Awesome, Let Me Help. Okay, so lots to digest here. So 3 Cheers is my favorite My Chemical Romance album, and I would not say that album is good, I would say that album is absolutely amazing, so I think I just kind of like My Chemical Romance's stuff just like more than you. So for me, it's not like 3 Cheers is the only good one and the others are mediocre. It's like 3 Cheers is amazing, and then Black Parade is great, very good. And then, what was their first one called? I Brought You My Bullets. Obviously, I couldn't remember the title, so I've listened to it less. I still think from what I've heard, I feel like that's a pretty darn solid album. And then Danger Days, I think, is absolute garbage. I just think I wish they never released that. Every time I listen to it, it's just devastating to hear a band just shift into such a vapid and poppy direction. Discussions about separating art from the artist are stupid. Like, bro, just let the other person have their own opinion. I disagree. I think these are pretty valid discussions because I would argue that someone could expand their definition of art to include reading about the artist and to include psychoanalyzing the artist, to include thinking about the context of the artist in relationship to their art. I know a lot of people have very strong feelings like, no, you can't think about the artist when considering the art, but I feel like you can kind of just consume art however you want. And if you're someone who likes to consume art by taking the context of the artist into consideration, you can do that. You can do that if you want. I would even go far as saying how you decide to consume art is an art within itself. That's kind of why people like music reviews, because there's like an art of how you decide to consume and then express your opinions on art. So I would say you need to get a little bit more meta than just simply saying no. But if you want to separate art from the artist, you also are welcome to do that. The Weeknd hasn't made a good album yet, excluding mixtapes. I would say After Hours is pretty good. I agree that, like, you know, his mixtapes are better, but I don't know. I feel like After Hours is like good enough to be considered good. Little B is punk, absolutely. That's why I have Little B t-shirt, and also I'm wearing my cool Story Bro shirt, which has nothing to do with Little B. I just wanted to show you my shirt. Family Man is a fantastic Black Flag album. Yeah, oh my god, I almost mispronounced flag there. That would have been bad. Yes, that is an absolutely amazing album. I think Black Flag's entire discography is pretty darn incredible. Even their deeper cuts and even their live albums, which I highly recommend. They are a very talented band, even though a lot of their album stuff is actually, it sounds crude and simplistic, but they're actually incredibly talented musicians. Last one here, this one kind of ruined the whole fun. Someone said, contrary to popular belief, we do not need a punk revolution. I am done reading this crap. That didn't get any likes, at least, thank goodness, but it's still, how do I put this? That's like you just freaking went up to me and just put a fucking knife into my forehead. So that's all I have to say, folks. I hope you enjoyed this segment. I really enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to do this more in the future because it's a lot of fun. Please keep your eye out on my Twitter for more opportunities like this. And please reply because there's a good chance I'll include you in this video. If I didn't include you in this video, don't take it personally. Maybe I just edited it out because I felt like I didn't have a good enough response or something. Thank you for watching, everybody. Please reply to more tweets with more of your thoughts, and we can do more of these because this was a lot of fun. And like, comment, subscribe so more people find my channel so we can have more viewers and more comments and more revolution. Thanks for watching. Punk Revolution now.